Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday Black Hole in Space show, where Mr. Moohead raises his hoof to reach out into the infinite darkness of space to find some of the most intriguing, entertaining, and irrelevant stories in the world of sports and God knows what else. I haven't been able to find anything, so that's it for today's program. No, actually, what we're going to do is we're going to wait for one of two things. We're either going to wait for the state of Texas to actually figure out, like how to turn the electricity on, or whatever comes first, that or Derek gets his food at Taco Bell. Joining me. Oh, he's already got it. Death in a bag. Death in a bag. Joining me is Tony and Brian and the inimitable Derek. And what did you order, Derek?
Bovines in space.
I got chips, a taco, a hard shell taco, chips, and whatever the 5-layer is.
Well, a hard shell taco is a chip. Am I right?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Much.
Well, I guess
we are on the nacho fries. What the hell's wrong with you?
I'm not a fan of them. They taste weird.
I like them.
Yeah.
And
joining us now is Stephanie A. Smith. And
Dynamite dropping 5 minutes later. There she is.
And Stephanie
got her hair done. Look at that blonde.
Well, Stephanie, there's a story, and very rarely do you get this emotional about a story. What's going on?
Well, I was beginning to feel the pressure from my fellow female sportscasters, my fellow female broadcasters and journalists in general. I noticed that they're all beautiful. What's going on there? I mean, to be a woman broadcaster, do you have to be beautiful and have this perfect body? I mean, I look at them and they look like Barbie dolls. I mean, I would like to work for ESPN, but I don't look like a Barbie doll. I look more like a Daisha doll. Only doll collectors will catch that reference. Anyway, I'm just saying, when I look at the male broadcasters, I see...
Hey, you could be a Buddha doll.
I see men over 50. But when I look at female broadcasters, I feel the pressure to try to look like I'm 30 years old and wear blonde hair and a lot of makeup. Is that what I need to do in order to be recognized in this field? Is that what other broadcasters need to do, females, in order to be recognized in this field? But then it can be a double-edged sword, because you have to have a certain type of sex appeal to even be on the air. But when you're on the air and you're looking that certain way, you're using your assets that God gave you in your field, and some guy makes a comment about it, it's time to be offended. It's time to be hurt, and possibly time for somebody to lose their job over it.
Now, did somebody think about you? I'm not catching the drift of what the story is here.
You're not catching the drift of what the story is. I'm just saying I have strong opinions about this.
I would rather listen to you over Colin Cowherd.
So the story that I was going to reference happened a few months ago, and I don't remember the details, and I was running late because I had to put all this shit on, so I don't have the story in front of me. I'm ill-prepared, so I'm not showing my broadcasting and journalistic abilities to its fullest right now.
Well, if it moved you so much, how come you don't remember the details of the story?
I do remember that a certain male broadcaster lost his job because he made a comment about an ESPN reporter who he felt like looked like she should be reporting from the porn awards rather than, a football game or whatever it was. He lost his job over that. So now when I looked at her outfit, she was wearing leather. She was showing what God gave her. But I do believe that he went over the line when he said what he said about the porn industry.
And so what are you doing about it?
What am I going to do about it?
Yeah, you've changed your look. This is exactly what you're condemning.
It's because when I look at the others who are beautiful, I feel the pressure to emulate them. Because I feel like that's what it's going to take for me to get a job on ESPN. That and rolling back the clock about 20 years and maybe losing about 50 pounds.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that it was so important that you lost the story. Anything is possible in the black hole in space, including somebody totally fucking up the opening of the show. God Almighty! There's so much weird.
Well, there's 10 minutes of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah, exactly. The people are like, we're 7 minutes in. It's like, what happened?
I didn't take up that whole 7 minutes. You had a good 3 minutes in there before I got here.
And we thought you were preparing. Imagine the surprise.
I am prepared. Just not with that particular story, that's all.
All right. Well, that makes me feel real warm all over, like I urinated inside my shorts.
But don't worry, I'm sure I'll have other strong opinions as the show progresses. Now, what are we going to talk about today?
What we're going to talk about today is show prep. No.
Speaking of,
I could maybe learn a few pointers from you on that one. I will admit, I don't mind having a male mentor.
One thing, and I have to, you got kicked? Why would you get kicked, Derek? I did not kick you. That's weird because I saw you come up and...
I was wondering why my foot hurt all of a sudden. No,
okay, try again, Derek. I don't know, maybe something funny's going on in the studio. Sorry about that. StreamYard on the phone sucks. Yes, it does, Derek. And yeah, try again. We don't want to kick anybody out of here. I mean, if we could, we might choose somebody who eats Taco Bell every other day, but yeah. Before we get on, I read the story actually that Stephanie is referencing, and it really is interesting that the companies hire all of these really attractive women to be sideline reporters, and all the way up to like news anchors, co-anchors, reporters, and all of this. And it seems to be predicated upon beauty and body type. So, what?
But ESPN's had one chick that's been there for 20
Linda Cohn
plus years. Well, not Linda Cohn, the one that had cancer and then kind of blimped out.
Martha Washington?
No. No, she does. She
Betsy
does kind
Ross.
of the. She does the specialist stories. Shit.
Oh,
Not Andrea Kramer. It's the other blonde one.
Doris Burke.
Doris Burke.
No, she does
she's
the. She does the games. She does the NBA games.
Yeah, I don't know.
This
Derek,
one does like the special reports on the interviews with the players and coaches and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask Stephanie, if we could take a look at her booty.
I don't work for Fox News. I'm not going to do the spin.
All right. Well, more spinning going on at the network level than you can imagine. Derek tried to get back on, but it didn't work. He needs to update his phone. It would help if you weren't using a flip phone, Derek. The NFL.
Lisa Salters, Brian?
Oh. No, Shelley Smith.
Oh, that's the ESPN girl. Okay.
I don't even know who she is. I know who Linda Cohn is, and she suffers from dry vaginal condition.
All right. It was Dan McNeil that was fired for making those comments about Maria Taylor. She did have a nice outfit, I have to say. It was all leather and stuff on the top.
All right.
And the other one was Holly Rowe from ESPN.
All right. I really, ESPN likes older women. Maybe there's a guy who's 92 who's hiring them. So if they hit 45, then they're still like milk to him. Disney, is in having a problem with the NFL. And the NFL is trying to increase its price from its network league partners 100%. Can you say gouge? Unbelievable. Negotiations are underway with NBC, CBS, Fox, and Disney, but Disney has already rejected the increase, citing the high price tag it already pays for Monday Night Football relative to the other packages. This is crazy. And NBC, CBS, and Fox are likely to accept increases closer to 100% than Disney will. But can you imagine?
Jesus.
Disney paid $1.9 billion annually for Monday Night Football in 2011, the deal that runs through 2021. So now Disney was offered up $3.8 billion per year for its new deal. Now, how in the hell could anybody make money out of a $3.8 billion per year? I mean, and this is the kind of shit that really, it's like monopoly money. It's not even real. It's all based on Disney's ownership of 14 different things, and it's based on stock value. It's based on their stock investments. And you're wondering at home why your DirecTV bill is going to go up next year. All right. And you're wondering, how did that get up to close to $400 for me to get those fucking games? And that's the answer. Because nobody that I know of right now in today's world can afford a 100% price increase on anything. Not on bottled water, not, Stephanie, what are you? Oh, for God's sakes. Make it stop, dear God. Make it stop.
Now you wish you could run around in the in the freezing Texas weather.
God almighty. To me, the fans are going to end up the ones doinked on this. That's the way it always works out. But I thought that was amazing. In the economy that we're in, we're worrying about whether people are able to work, businesses are able to be open. They're asking at 100% price increase. They're not living in the real world. I don't know where they're living, but they're not living in the real world.
And Sunday ticket's going to be about $300 a season next year. There's no doubt.
Yeah, my God. I mean, who can pay except for the wealthiest of the wealthy? Which brings me to...
But hey, on the bright side, you have a new negotiating tact with Sunday ticket. You can just blame COVID.
Yeah. Closer to home, I don't know if you're seeing the national news about the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and how he opened up this area for vaccination, and that's in my zip code where I live.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, I can speak about this more intelligently than anybody on the internet. You don't have to get your news from CNN or any other warped source. I mean, 34202 and 34211 are the two zip codes. They are the wealthiest two zip codes in the area. They are the whitest, and they are the most Republican. Okay, they went 7,200 some odd people got the invitation to get upwards of 3,000 vaccinations, and it was predicated on
the best government money can buy.
Voter registration was the basis by which they identified people who were over the age of 65 who lived in these two wealthy zip codes. I can't for the life of me figure it out. We got people, there were 1,010 known cases in 34202, over 4,300 cases in 34221. But the difference is 34221, which is Palmetto, is predominantly Hispanic and didn't vote for Donald Trump, didn't vote Republican. They get nothing. And these people are trying to work. People here, they're all above retirement age. It's unbelievable.
I am outraged by this. I am so outraged. I'm almost tempted to go down there and protest. But you know what? You best believe if I qualified, I'd be right there in that line to get that vaccine.
Yeah, well, Linda Cohn was there.
So was Shelley Smith. I mean,
This is going to be a running joke now, Linda Cohn replacing, taking her teeth out and breaks, and things of that nature. Yeah, I remember when she was first on the air. Remember the original ESPN commentators?
Yeah.
The people who started out, Bob Lee was one of them.
Yep.
There were a bunch of them. They're all dead now.
Bob Lee's still alive.
I know. Yeah. People said when I was younger, I looked like Bob Lee. That's because I was like really overweight. Still am really overweight, actually.
Well, everybody says I look like Chris.
Well, hey,
Tucker.
you could look like Larry Newber.
Yeah, well, you keep
Larry Newber's been dead for about 30 years.
Oh, God. I'm going to be ill.
Speaking of ill, did you see the Vincent Jackson death story?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was
They,
going to get to
they
next.
found him and they thought he was sleeping for 3 days.
Well, you never know. It's yeah, he may have been binge watching some of his favorite TV series. That they have donated his brain to Boston University's CTE Center. Like, we need to know now at this point. They're saying he may have been dead for days in that motel room. And it's obviously a horrible thing. And this will just be in the headlines for a day or two or three, and the NFL will squelch it. But again, when a guy was 38 years of age, who has a wife and kids, who's not with his wife and kids, I suppose it's better than he would be like, Chris Benoit with his wife and kids. But that's what you're looking at. People who have CTE do not have control of themselves. And very often violence, depression, and in this case,
Well, to be fair, he was also exacerbating his condition with steroid use
and alcohol to medicate himself after the fact. Hillsborough County, which is just north of me up in Tampa, he died basically within a couple miles of where Tony the Calf stayed. And and did you smell anything funny when you were there?
Well, it's Florida.
I thought it was just a general stink of the area. I mean,
okay, yeah, that's Brandon, all right. Yeah, that's where
homeless on the side of the road in Wing House.
Yeah, this was part of a welfare check. Can you believe this? A welfare check based upon the fact that where was he gone? On February 13th and 14th, the hotel staff entered his room and noticed that he was seated on the couch but slouched over. They assumed he was sleeping and left the room. All right. And again,
wasn't it T.I. that had the song Dead and Gone?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hip hop is for the young these days. I just can't get with all that talk. They just I don't know what to say.
As long as you're the one.
It was different back in the 80s when they talked about sex and all that stuff. It's different now that there's young people talking about it, and I'm not young like that anymore.
So then on the 15th, they went back into his room again, that he hadn't moved from his previous spot. And they said, what a coinky dink.
Gee, Timothy, something might be up.
Gee, Timothy. Right. And, at first, they
Chumley.
They took him for Sendejo because he hadn't moved in days. There was a small laceration on his left big toe, according to the report. Big toe will come back later in the show. he had been staying at the hotel for over a month. And, who knows exactly when he died. Alcohol use, smokeless tobacco, no known drug use, but his brain is going to be studied. What a tragic way to go. Everybody was high on the Browns having $30.4 million of cap room. That's the number now based on the nearly $180 million cap that is going to be put into place, which is just a hair more than what it was last year for NFL teams. Mind you, the NFL will be, asking for an 100% price increase.
They got to make money somehow because they sure as shit didn't make it with nobody in the crowd last year.
Yeah, God almighty. And that's what this is all about. This is all about gouging now. And they will come to some conclusion on this. But the Carolina Panthers have started dumping players, a group of 3 players being dumped. It started with Kawan Short on Wednesday, then Stephen Weatherly, and then safety Trey Boston. A name at 28 years of age that might come up. Former Arizona Cardinal. You know something about him, Brian. He's been in the league for 7 years. And their punter, Michael Pilardi, improved their team's cap space to $28.473 million. So they've gotten themselves into a position where they can do something that they need to do, and that's to draft a quarterback. It's funny. I didn't realize how much of an effort the Carolina Panthers made to get Carson Wentz. Oh, excuse me, Matthew Stafford. They went after Stafford hard. I mean, they offered Detroit the number 8 pick, a 5th-round pick, and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater for quarterback Stafford, and the Lions ended up dealing with the Rams instead. So Carolina now is going to try to make a run on Deshaun Watson if Deshaun Watson can, in fact, get his wish and get traded. So that's important news if you're a Panther fan. If you're a Browns fan at $30.4 million, it's going to cost you a big bunch of that if you're going to land J.J. Watt. And that is J.J. Watt is just sitting back enjoying himself, tweeting out to everybody, man, free agency is wild. And it's wildly profitable when you just sit back and let these people bid against one another. And it's basically a reset for the Panthers because Matt Paradis, their center, is the only starting lineman left currently under contract. So why Deshaun Watson would go there, I have no idea. But they don't have an offensive line right now. So there's that. And the Browns' $30.4 million is a big number, but it can be eaten up by one big player. So if you're wondering who's got the most now, the Browns at 30.4, nearly $4 million more than the second place Jets. But now, because of the moves Carolina's made, Carolina's jumped ahead with 28, the number I gave you. The Jets at 26.7 million, and that's $7 million more than the Jags, who will lose no matter how much they have, carrying over $23.5 million, and $8 million more than the Eagles, who are at $22.8 million. So the Browns have a better product to offer a guy like J.J. Watt, and they are in a position to do something significant. But if they don't get J.J. Watt, they should be able to get some multiple player help on their defense, which is going to be the whole ball game here. For the Browns, that's what we lack. So somehow I just think that he's going to go someplace else and not to Cleveland. I think that he's going to go to not necessarily the highest bidder, but he's going to go to maybe a team that has more of a history of winning.
I would put every penny I have on Green Bay.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
No, I think he would pick Buffalo over Green Bay.
I just don't.
That's a more
see him.
consistent. They have a greater consistent. consistent chance of winning the division and having a good seed in the playoffs.
He would have to take a lot less money to go to Buffalo.
Yeah, I just don't see.
You can't replace winning though.
Yeah, I just don't.
32, yeah.
I don't see him going to Cleveland. I mean, he's lost so much, and Cleveland, while they did have a really good year, out of all the teams that are in the namesake for him, if there's one team you would think that's going to shit the bed and go back to losing, it's obviously history tells you it's the Cleveland Browns.
And that's the thing that people are going to be wondering about. They're going to be wondering whether this was a one-hit wonder or what. Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up. While she just preens away, making these incisive comments, we will.
Marilyn Blackson over there.
But yeah, I don't think right now the Browns need something big to get over the hump, and what they really need is another season where they're really competitive. And what we're looking for, and I figured out. Everyone's saying contender. I don't like that word because a contender is like in boxing, a guy who gets up to that position where he contends for a title, but then he loses one fight and he's no longer a contender. What I want is a consistent playoff appearing team. That's the next step for the Browns is, instead of people saying Super Bowl and all that nonsense, it's like the way you win the Super Bowl is by getting into a position where you can win it consistently. And the Browns need to build on what they have. J.J. Watt's a great piece, and it may have been a better piece 2 or 3 years from now if it had been available this way. But I'm not going to cry if J.J. Watt decides to go to a Green Bay and play out his final days with the aging Aaron Rodgers. If that's what he wants to do, that's cool. We just need to make multiple impacts then with that cap money we have to spend to make our team a consistent playoff appearing team. That's the next step. And again, Watt, it's not a linebacker for one thing, and he's a defensive end. And two, linebackers in general don't mean a hell of a lot. You'll go to the draft to pick up linebackers. You're not gonna, if you need to bring in people who are immediate impact people, you need them in your secondary in this defensive scheme with Joe Woods. You need to have multiple people who can defend the pass. It's a great luxury to have a J.J. Watt, a pass rusher. But the fact is, the time may not be right. The money may be all right, but the time may be completely wrong for that. And the more I think about this, there's an opportunity to make our defense. Can you imagine if our defense just got like 20 to 30% better? That's the kind of thing that will push the team forward with the base that it has offensively with its line, running backs, quarterback, and give us an opportunity to make a splash with a 26 pick that could haul us in a great secondary guy, a safety, or could bring a wham bam wide receiver to the offense if you wanted to go that way. There's a lot of different ways to get more verticality. That was one thing lacking in Cleveland this last year.
And you can get a good threat in that position. The Vikings got Justin Jefferson at 23 last year.
Yeah, I mean, we're at a point right now where it's two things. It's your front office and their ability to draft. That's the first thing. And the second thing is blind luck as opposed to blonde luck.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, thank you.
Stephanie A. Smith and her Blonde Ambition tour.
Yeah, blind luck is something like this. We're going to get Wyatt Teller from the Buffalo Bills. He comes into the Freddie Kitchen system, and it's like frighteningly bad. He's just totally unable to do anything, and he's constantly jumping off sides, and and the guy becomes a premier offensive lineman. He just needed to be in the right system, and he needed to be coached up the right way. And that's the kind of luck. And we make some of our own luck by having Callahan on the offensive line as the coach. We teach guys better technique. And there are ways of finding people who can help you if, in fact, you are lucky. And some of what Dorsey did, I'm sure, is veteran skill, and some of it is just blind luck. If you draft the right people and you get lucky once or twice, if Teller becomes a fixture on this offensive line and stays healthy, I mean, God, that kind of luck solidifies an offensive line for like 6-7 years. And that's what I mean about consistently making the playoffs. That's what you need, is you got to have anchors that have protracted careers. And right now, we don't have enough explosiveness deep. And I know people are going to say OBJ and all that. We don't know what he's going to have and what he's going to bring to the mix. But, if Donovan Peoples-Jones could twice break containment and get deep, and he's not the fastest guy nor the most experienced guy in the world, you can imagine if we had somebody who was, like a Tyreek Hill kind of guy. Somebody who, if you forget about him for a split second, it's just a shot downfield and Baker won't miss him. That kind of thing. So I could see us conceivably entertaining a really blisteringly big play kind of wide receiver, potentially in the second round. Now, the Browns have 2 additional picks compared to what they should have, and they could always move up from 26. If there's something there that is so good, they can't turn it down. Browns are in a position to trade up. Now, nobody thinks they're going to do it, but you just don't know. That's what makes all of this interesting. There are a bunch of things that the Carson Wentz trade, we didn't even get a chance to talk about this for the show last time because it hadn't happened. And a second round and a third round pick, that's it.
Well, so it's misleading. It's a third round pick this year, and the second round pick is a conditional second round pick that if he plays 75% of the snaps, or if he plays 70% of the snaps and they make the playoffs, becomes a first round pick. So it's most likely, unless he gets injured, it's going to be a first round pick.
Okay. But he has gotten injured, and but he's getting back with his old offensive coordinator, and people feel he's going to be a real asset in Indianapolis. We'll see. And Brian, I want to warn you, I don't know who this Lattimore guy is, but
I think isn't that the defensive back from New Orleans?
I don't know. Are you sure it's not some Canadian guy named Lattimore?
Lattimore.
That's a really Canadian last name.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to get him. I don't know, man. That's really bold. I don't know. Well, good luck, E. I hope it works out for you. I love it.
How about that prospect, Bullwinkle or Moose Key? Whiplash, Snidely.
In the black hole in space, headlines mean everything. Headline: Andre Drummond doesn't practice with
Mr. Peabody.
Andre Drummond doesn't practice with Cavaliers. I don't think he ever did. I mean, he's like the 6'11" Allen Iverson. It's like Kevin Love did take part in practice, and they had to clean up the floor because the wheelchair kept leaving indentations. Andre Drummond is never going to step on the floor again as a player for the Cleveland Cavaliers, as they don't want him to hurt himself. And I noted that they were holding him back before they decided they didn't want him anymore on back-to-back games and on longer road trip kinds of situations. At 27, I suspect there's something wrong with Andre Drummond's back, and I would bet money on it. And they don't want to even take the risk of him even at 27 years of age, showing some kind of a physical problem, they're not going to play him at all. And they're going to take for him whatever they can get for him. The reason I say this is that even more so than normal, not going up strong to the basket, getting shots blocked, not willing to really be able to use his body. And I've seen guys with back trouble before because I look at myself in the mirror every day. And believe me, there's a reluctance and a hesitance to do all kinds of things when you have back issues. There was one back-to-back where they held him out when he was playing, and they said it was his back. So just beware. That's a possibility that the Cavaliers just I think they'll take most anything for him, honestly.
Yeah.
I think a buyout is what the thing is probably going to wind up happening.
Yeah, because not many teams are going to give up anything of real value
No, not for
unless
that
you
player.
settle for like a 2 second-round picks or something, or if he's part of a bigger deal.
And why do you have to? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in a situation where you have 3 superstars on a team like the Nets, you're just going to sit there and pick your nose until the buyout goes down. That's
Right.
just the way it goes down in the NBA. And if you don't believe that you're, in, the deja vu land, the All-Star captains, it's LeBron versus Kevin Durant. Go figure.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, like we care, Anthony Davis of the Lakers is out now 4 weeks as they say they're going to get conservative because they're concerned about his Achilles.
They need to do something because they got their fucking ass beat by the Nets last night, and that was the Nets without KD.
Yeah,
That was
but
just Kyrie.
I've seen this act before, though. Do you remember when the Cavaliers were when LeBron was here? They went in and played Golden State on Christmas and kicked their ass decisively.
Yep.
And everyone said, "Wow, this team stacks up great," and it didn't happen. Yeah, that's what I think that is. These games don't matter to a 36-year-old LeBron James. Look, Kyrie Irving can't even be mentioned in the same breath professionally as LeBron James. And I'm tired of people, they're going to play it up as best they can. But, I mean, he's a very skilled offensive player. He's not reliable. And God only knows, every time he's hurt, he sits. And he's hurt constantly. And his attitude is questionable at best. If the Nets get that far, which I don't think they will, I don't think they will. I think the NBA is going to do everything to get them there, but I have no faith in that troika of players. Durant, I believe, can do damage in the pinch, but I think if things go badly, that Kyrie will give up. That's what I think. So
Yeah.
These midseason results don't mean anything to me at all. But going back to the Carson Wentz thing, do you realize that the quarterbacks that were selected, I'm trying to get the exact, it's crazy. They're the top guys like Jared Goff, and who went in the top, 5 or 6?
Yeah.
Like there's a whole bunch of them that are no longer on the team, and it was right after they signed their big deal. And that with Baker Mayfield coming up on his big deal, which the Browns are going to have to pull the trigger on. The question is,
I saw that graph. I have it in front of me.
it's crazy how many guys drafted really high and they're not with their original teams anymore.
Off is no longer with the Rams. Wentz is no longer with the Eagles. And then your next QB was Dak Prescott. He is a free agent. Probably will be back with the Cowboys. Christian Hackenberg, no longer in the league. Cody Kessler, no longer in the league. I mean,
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett's a free agent. He's not with the Patriots. That's your top 6 quarterbacks from that draft. One of them is And
Yeah. And so people are warning the Browns, look out, you give him the money, and is he going to turn into Carson Wentz? The thing I want to remind people of is that Carson Wentz is a system quarterback, and he needs protection. And he came into the league being pimped as being a really big, strong guy. And, yeah, that gets chopped down to size real quickly when you're getting, rushed to death. And what we know about Baker is that he's got a good line in front of him. I think the Browns are on a real uptick, and I think the Eagles, for whatever reason, through injuries and other issues, became a weaker team over time. And it's not like Jalen Hurts looks great at quarterback, all right? And nobody's thinking that he's the answer to all their problems. But I don't think any quarterback would look good with as little time to throw. And what it looked like to me is that he was confused by the system completely. He just it didn't look like he was familiar with what he was doing. And they're hoping, people in Indianapolis are hoping that getting back with Frank Reich and getting into a decisive, situation. It's not anything that's wrong with Wentz's arm. It's his head. And they want to get his head back into the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I think Doug Peterson rode that magical wave of Nick Foles in that magic run to the Super Bowl that they had into the ground and really ruined that franchise when you look at it.
And now Stephanie is flirting with Rick. My goodness.
And they call it puppy love.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is something I didn't know. The guy who cry-bullied literally Drew Brees into capitulation over standing for the national anthem.
Yes.
Marshawn Lattimore.
Lattimore is the guy who called him out. All right. Well, I don't think I won.
Former Buckeye defensive back.
That'll explain it. Yeah, this is Cleveland football fans' fetish for getting Ohio State players. They've really been great to us through the years. We've had great luck with Ohio State players.
Yeah.
Well, name one.
Pepper Johnson was a pickup.
He played for the Giants his whole career. We got him as an old man. What Buckeyes have helped the Cleveland Browns?
Brian Robisky certainly didn't.
That's exactly right. His dad is a better route runner. I mean, yeah. And now we've got a brittle cornerback. And we'll see what comes of him. But he sits more than he plays. He's the Kyrie of defensive backs. But the people love him because he is a Buckeye.
And a hometown kid.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not that I have anything against the player. Denzel Ward's got talent. There's no question. Whether his body will hold up to the rigors of the NFL, that's another question altogether. But, I mean, he shows me that he has coverage skills, which is
Warfield. Fucking Rick. You're almost 60 years too late, but sure.
Yeah. So let's see what else. Oh, Big Toe. I promised Big Toe was coming back. Terry Francona. He got a staph infection in his big toe. Isn't that weird? That's weird. And I'll tell you, Terry Francona has been one sick dude, man. They're not telling us what the gastrointestinal issue was that took him away from the Indians last year, but he had multiple procedures, and it has not been talked about. He's been in the hospital for 10 days after the doctors excised the infection. He's hobbling around training camp on crutches. Last year, if you remember, he developed gout in December. He had been exercising regularly and playing golf before the pain in his foot became too much. He had been admitted several times last year to address a gastrointestinal problem as well as blood clotting issues. Then the doctors discovered the staph infection, which, of course, is a life-threatening thing. I still have my toe, said Francona, because they put in like a cement-like substance in there. They removed the part of the bone that was infected, and they pumped him full of antibiotics. He'll be off the antibiotics, or on them, I should say, for another 3 weeks. And he's getting the antibiotics through an IV. This is no laughing matter. So, and he's only 61 years old, and he's having all of these health problems. Just, really kind of a tough thing. And he's done a good job as the manager of the Indians. He really has. And there are people who will question his methods as being kind of a player's coach. But look, we didn't win until he really got here. So I thought he's done pretty good.
You think he has health problems now? Wait till he sees the opening day roster.
Well, that's why. I mean, the roster's infected. My God, I don't even know.
So now he's turned into the manager from Major League.
Yeah, Lou. Yeah, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a long year for Cavalier fans, long year for Indian fans.
And a long year for Browns fans waiting for the
season to start.
Yeah, and it could be fraught with disappointment if the team doesn't live up to all the expectations of the fans. And I'm just telling people, lower your expectations. Let's not worry about, Super Bowls and all this nonsense. We have to prove that we can compete with the Ravens, which we haven't been able to do yet. And we have to prove that last year's 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh is an ongoing thing, and that we won't let down when we play the Bengals. It all comes down to playing teams in your own division. That's right. Really, if you can dominate that. And I saw where the general manager of the Steelers has not committed to bringing Roethlisberger back. And that could change things for Pittsburgh dramatically. If they got no quarterback there.
Yeah.
They got Haskins.
Yeah.
I mean, that could just, and that could be an easy big time sweep for us.
You could see them potentially trade for a Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but I mean, that doesn't scare me. The thing that scared me about Roethlisberger, and it doesn't scare me anymore because he can't break the tackles and do the things he did and find people for big plays down the field and sustain plays. He's limited to getting rid of the ball in 2.4 seconds. And if that's not the offense that the Steelers are going to play in the future, they don't need him. But the problem is if they're going to give the ball to Haskins for a year because they signed him just for a 1-year deal, I can't imagine they're going to turn the thing over to him unless they intentionally want to tank so they can get Terry Bradshaw a second time, They can get themselves a big-time college quarterback after tanking for a season because the more time Haskins has back there to throw, the more opportunity of a mistake coming out of him. But I got to say, the same thing was true with Roethlisberger from what we saw against him with Cleveland. The longer he held onto the ball and forced it down the field, there wasn't the same accuracy or oomph on the ball. We got to beat them twice, but we got to figure out a way to deal with the Ravens because we don't score against them and we can't stop their running game. We have to figure out a way. That's going to be a prime determinant.
Well, it'll be interesting if the Ravens actually get themselves a number 1 receiver for once and not do this receiver by committee nonsense.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced that they can open up a passing game.
Yeah.
I'm just not, if you had to throw the ball 8 times in a row, would Lamar be your guy? I mean, no. I don't think so. If teams were able, I think the windows that he throws to are open because of the strength of the running game and his ability to scramble. But if they and every time I've seen them behind in games, and when he has to throw, it goes to hell. The ball starts wobbling, it's not accurate, and the windows aren't open anymore. Teams taking away the middle of the field against him, so he can't throw to his tight end as his outlet every time. I think there are real questions about that, but we haven't figured out how to put him into that position except once when we jumped on him and got ahead of him, and he looked terrible in that game that we whipped him 2 years ago. He looked terrible, and he hasn't looked good coming from behind. I mean, in a big scoring game like when he came off the shitter and beat us, you know, that was the closest I've seen to him step up as the passing throwing quarterback, but it was against a shit secondary that we have. Just shit.
The whole thing stinks like yesterday's diapers.
Oh, she's hitting on you, Brian. She's hitting on you, man. Please come to Canada in the springtime. I don't know. Hey, look, I don't know. I'm not going to make a judgment, but in the black hole in space, we can say this, but I bet her cooking's a lot better than your mom's.
I doubt that.
I'm not referring to food, Brian.
Oh.
For God's sakes. Live, my man. Live.
I would hope.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like Linda Cohn. Come back all over again.
Oh, boy.
The Cavaliers, meanwhile, you know, Isaac Okoro is just being beaten like a piñata. I mean, no matter who the best player is from the other team, he has to guard him and get his ass whacked night after night. And I don't know why they're doing this. I can't for the life of me. It's like he's becoming like a whipping boy. And it's like, all right, Isaac, we're playing the Lakers. You guard LeBron. It's like, but I'm only 6'4.5" and 19, 20 years old. It's like, go out there and see how you can do. And Bickerstaff, it's crazy what, you know, they asked him what the strategy is with Isaac Okoro, and he said, we're throwing him to the wolves. That's what we did with Andrew Wiggins. It was a Minnesota joke. Thank you. But no.
The land of 1,000 lakes, but not Land O'Lakes.
Yeah. He got torched for 36 points from Paul George. Lou Williams just put on a display against him. Next is Chris Middleton from Milwaukee, who's going to. Then, God only knows, Devin Booker. He can put up 50 on you in a heartbeat.
Now they're going to throw Jamal Murray tonight.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
watch, they have him guard Jokic, and it's just like Jokic. Jokic breaks Wilt Chamberlain's single game scoring record.
Just punish the young man. And they say how he's even tempered and he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's only 6'4.5". He's a guard, and he's not a good shooting guard. He is not a three. Somebody, and you're going to find out. He's not a three. He's going to have to really work on his shot and getting shots, and he is not a guy who's going to come off the bench and score.
He's a 2 guard, forced to play the 3 guard because they've got too many fucking 1s and 2s currently on the roster.
And the problem is that the 2 guys who start, you know, it's entirely possible that Sexton, I know it's heretical, all right, SAT word, but if they sign him to a big contract, they may bring him off the bench as a prolific scorer. Yeah. Because Sexton won't pass the ball, and they may want Okoro to develop into a stopper at the guard position, and giving him all this experience and beefing up and getting stronger will motivate him to increase the strength of his body as he matures and be able to get more physical and learn the moves that guys make on the NBA level. But I mean, honestly, what do? with those three guys, only two of them can start. And right now, it looks to me like Darius Garland is an honest to God, point guard. And Sexton is an undersized scoring guard who can't play a lick of defense.
Well, we know how this goes. Sexton will continue to develop, and then next year when there's a team that's in need and the Cavs are sucking again, Colin Sexton traded to the Lakers for a third round pick, second round pick, and Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
Yeah,
Jr.
third round pick on a draft that's only 2 rounds. That would be perfect for the Cavs.
And a bad contract that expires this year, but hey, it's a good bad contract for a team that's going to have a lot of cap space. Maybe next year.
Yeah, but if they're going to sign him to a deal, and then they tell him he's got to come off the bench, it would be very interesting to see what would happen, how quickly his head would go into the toilet. One more thing before we leave, and this is it really bookends with the beginning of the program regarding 100% price increases. That the NFL is trying to impose on its media partners. How in the hell do you pay $340 million to Fernando Tatis Jr.?
Over 14 years. That's.
Well, I mean, what is the motivating thing? What was A-Rod's deal that was so ridiculous back when?
I thought that was like 500 billion or something like that.
No. Somebody looked that up. What was he given by the Yankees? A-Rod.
Wasn't that one of the $250 million deals for 10 years or something like that?
Yeah. This is $340 million for 14 years. How in the hell? And I'm looking at, the kid was 20 when he came up, and he had a 313 in his first year, and in his second year, which is a shortened year last year, a 277. He's got power and, some power. I mean, we're not talking about somebody who's blasting 40 home runs. They're hoping he'll mature into that. But on the come, $340 million. And you know what the craziest part of this is?
10-year, $252 million contract.
And that was crazy because you saw what happened to him.
Well, and that was the follow-up to the other $250 million contract he signed with the Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just insanity. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm not ridiculing Tatis as a player, but how could you project somebody out over that period of time and think you're going to get value and that he's, his bat's going to be so slow by the time he's, 34 years of age and his range is going to be so diminished, you're going to be looking at it saying, why did we do this? But
if you're looking at Tatis too, it's like he's what, 22?
Yeah, he is now.
You basically just cool, I'll make $354 million my entire career.
But you know something? He isn't really making that money. And that's the funny part of the story. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. There is a company, and it is a company that, the investment funds. And what they do is they find who they feel are the next great young players, and they basically pay the young player and get them in debt to the investment fund. So when he signed the $340 million deal, the investment fund, as part of his contract for fronting him money, gets a percentage of his next contract. Can you believe that?
Got to do it easy.
I mean,
so they're going to get a percentage of the 1-year deals he'll sign at age 37 or 38 or whatever.
And no, as he was.
Well, he probably won't even live. He probably won't even last out the entire length of the contract, just like A-Rod did not.
Right. I mean, when he was 18, he made a deal with a company called Big League Advance. It advances pay to minor league players in exchange for a slice of their Major League Baseball earnings. Can you imagine? There's somebody jackpot. They hit the lottery on this from Big League Advance. It's nuts.
60 Minutes did a story on these on people like that, taking advantage of guys in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, and even Cuban players that were trying to get on. And
It's essentially loan sharking, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's not
basically
like what Don King did to Mike Tyson.
Huh?
I mean, it's kind of like, oh, you know, we're going to front you, we'll put you in a beautiful house and a beautiful car. And it turns out that he didn't own the house, he didn't own the car, you know. And it's like now Tatis, I don't know how much he's had to fork over. But when a kid comes up to the big leagues and he's hyped by an organization, honestly, he's going to live like a big leaguer. And so, you you got to live it up, man. You got to live it. You're in San Diego and you've got to buy a nice house and you got to live the life, and you're young and, it sounds like a good deal, but then you end up in hock to people and the contract that you get is eaten up by a lot of these people, and he will be preyed
well, plus you have to pay an agent and a manager and all these accountants and all these fucking
followers, the
nickel and
hanger.
dime things.
Yeah, people are going to be, literally attaching themselves to him. Women will be attaching themselves to him and suing him, whatever is necessary. But $340 million, and it's the Padres. When was the last time the Padres were anything?
Right.
I mean, why? Why would a team just mortgage its entire future on one player?
They're not even projected to be the best team in the freaking NL National League.
Yeah.
So I saw that Vegas has the win totals for the Dodgers at 104. It's like the number one of all time or something like that. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It is. It's crazy. Well, we've gone through the program, and I think it's important now that we ask Stephanie, was it worth it?
I've been sitting here trying to be cute and charming and engaging, looking at the camera. And let me tell you something. This is exhausting. I'd rather sit here looking surly and just expressing my opinion strongly whenever the mood hits me. I'd rather do that than try to get all made up.
I just saw just the sound of your voice makes your cat run in the other direction. You're the exact opposite of a pussy magnet, Stephanie. My goodness. But I hope somebody notices you. I hope somebody notices you out there and that you make that next big.
Sage Steele could not be reached for comment.
Yeah.
Sure, I have no sports knowledge, but I don't see why that should stop me from getting a job at ESPN.
Anybody keeping in touch with Steven? I mean, anybody who is from Texas, you got to worry about. Anybody in contact with him?
He did a show on Tuesday night yelling about JJ Watt and whatever happens at the Walmart he works at, but I haven't heard anything since.
Yeah, but it's incredible. Did you see the video of the Arkansas border with Texas, and the Arkansas side of the road was plowed and the Texas side was not? There's no, I mean, where are the tax dollars going in Texas?
Well, they don't get that kind of shit that often. The only thing that they get are like ice storms on occasion. So they don't have salt trucks. They don't have plows. They don't have any of that stuff.
This is the thing that's stupid about this. I mean, this is like gambling needlessly, It's like gambling needlessly because there comes a day where it will happen and then you end up with a crisis.
Right.
So, all that tax money that got poured in such a populous state and nothing in the end, nothing to pay. We can't even turn on the electricity there. We can't get basic services done. I mean, and it's not just Texas, I'm sure, and other states, but it's really, they should have to account where every tax dollar goes. Oh, God. Stephanie A. Piranha, thank you so much for that. Now I'm not going to sleep tonight. All right, everybody.
Was it a cleavage camera? What the hell?
Yeah, she's desperate at this point. Just
She's
desperate.
practicing for OnlyFans.
If she shows up on Monday with two
There you go.
if she shows up on Monday with 2 cantaloupes in her fucking brassiere work.
Oh. And Rick says it's time for a rendition of Titanium. We'll close with that.
I'm bulletproof, nothing to lose. Fire away, fire away. You shoot me down, but I will fall. I am titanium.
Thank you, Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe Camel. Yeah.
Sound like Brett Summers from the Match Game. Like too many cigarettes. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the Black Hole in Space. And I know you'll never do it again. We'll be back again on Monday to talk about whatever there is to talk about, which isn't a hell of a lot. But I have a commitment to doing this program because I've been doing it for 17 years. I'm going to continue doing it until such a time as Stephanie stops posing. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you again on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.